Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Um, Thank you all for coming. I want to talk with you about something you might be already a little bit familiar with. How to Be Human, a simple do-it-yourself guide. Um, Before I launch in, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I do. Um, I travel around the world, and what I can bring to you is a very broad global view across many different topics. I split my time between California, China, and West Africa, mostly in Nigeria, exploring a few key questions. I'm always looking at global innovation. What are the new innovations in different places that are springing up that might disrupt us where we live? I'm always looking at new emerging technologies, whatever we mean by technologies. I'm always thinking about new ways to build organizations, new ways to build social movements, new ways to build companies that we hadn't thought of before. And I'm always thinking about how people make meaning, both from the perspective of data and data science, and also things like religion and storytelling. And I work with people both in very large organizations and public settings like this in order to do that. So I want us to have a conversation today together. What I can bring to you is this global view, and we can think together a little bit about what this means to be human, and how when we think about emerging technologies and when we think about innovation, we are affected by that. When we talk about technology or a technology, where are we talking about it? This is in Lagos, Nigeria, and I spent about a third of my year in Nigeria, and there's a lot happening in this picture, right? First of all, there's thousands of businesses. Right here, there's a business on this woman's head. There's a business in every one of these shops. There's no big Walmarts. There's no centralized frameworks. There's a constant interflowing technology of communication between people. There's also a lot of e-commerce here. There's thousands of WhatsApp groups connecting people and helping them sell things over the internet. This man here is running his own cell phone company. He has these cell phones. He has his name on the cell phones. He purchases the cell phones, and he brands them, and he sells them. And if you have a problem with your cell phone, you can come to him. This is exactly what any company in the world besides Apple or Samsung does. They purchase phones, and they add their own custom software and business model around it. If he grew, and he probably will grow, he's a good businessman, he won't buy a big store to sell his phones. He'll buy another umbrella, and another, and another. This is a new kind of organization, a new kind of company. He bought these phones in a place called China, probably from the south of China. This is a place called Huaqiangbei Market in Shenzhen. It's a similar kind of business model, a similar constantly changing, very entrepreneurial environment, except the people are making a lot more money than the man in Lagos. People can make hundreds of thousands of US dollars in a year in this market. And the innovation is very constant, constantly churning. It's very volatile. Every product has 1,000 different variations, and it's ownerless. People don't care about IP. They know that in this environment of volatility, that if they move faster than another entrepreneur, then they will win. People know that they need to move fast and innovate constantly as part of the business. Technology happens anywhere. Technology doesn't happen in Silicon Valley or Berlin or any place in particular. Technology is happening anywhere that people are using a process to do something. And it's always a human process. But we're here to talk about something specific, right? We're here at Go Viral to talk about very advanced global technologies. Are you ready? I want to share a few of the most advanced global technologies that I'm seeing from around the world and think about them with you. I discovered this one pretty recently. It's called a pencil. I have a patent on it pending, so if you see someone copying the pencil, please let me know. Why do I say that this is an advanced technology? Because people take a pencil and they create things that have very deep human meaning. This is a pencil drawing by an artist called M.C. Escher. It's a very old drawing, and it's very evocative. It makes us think about how space works. It makes us think about the way that shapes fit together. It makes us think about our lives in a new way. It brings magic into our lives. And he's done that with a pencil, right? This one perhaps makes us think about life and death. It's emotionally transportive. When we look at it, we're not thinking about the pencil. Can you imagine going to a museum and seeing these pictures there? And your friends say, oh, what did you see in the museum? You say, oh, I saw these pictures, and they were made with a pencil. It was a pencil. They would look at you. They'd think you're crazy. So if I can create this really amazing, emotionally profound experience with a pencil, then if I'm going to do something else, it must be special. Saule Dusembina is a Kazakh artist that also uses pencil. She's making a commentary here about surveillance. She used pencil to draw on wallpaper to give the message that we're constantly surveilled even in our own homes. She does that with just a pencil. So if I'm going to put $3,000 of metal on my face, there better be something really amazing in there. There must be something in there that is so emotionally profound that I should use this instead of a pencil. It has to connect back to a human experience. A technology is advanced if it profoundly affects human experience. I want to talk to you about another technology that I've been looking at. It's called a Hawala Network, and they're fairly popular in North Africa, but they also exist in other parts of the world. And a Hawala Network is an incredible technology for transferring money and value instantaneously anywhere in the world. And you know how they do it? With human trust. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm in Egypt, and let's say, okay, I'm going to come down here. I'm in Egypt, and you're in London, and I want to send you $20. And so I have this $20, and I want to send it, but I don't want to send it through the bank because that'd be really expensive, right? So what I do, and Oscar, you're in Egypt with me, and what's your name? Donna. Okay, Donna, you're in London with what's your name? Senya. Okay, Donna and Senya, you're in London. Me and Oscar, we're in Egypt, right? I want to send money to Senya. So this is how I do it. I go to Oscar. Oscar and Donna are in a Hawala Network, and I say to Oscar, "Here's $20." Oscar calls Dana, and he says, "Dana, you over in London, hand $20 to Senya." She hands Senya's $20, boom. We just transferred money instantaneously across thousands of miles, right? For free no less. Although I will pay you something, don't worry. So we can do this with human trust, and the reason why it works is because Oscar and Dana know each other. Maybe they're family. Maybe they're in the same tribe. But for some reason, they trust each other, that when they write down on a piece of paper, I received $20, and Dana writes down, I gave Senya $20, they trust that that's correct. So if I can do this with a network of human trust, then if I'm going to use something like Bitcoin or Ethereum that I don't understand, and that was invented 10 years ago, it better be really, really good. And even if I'm using one of those things, the human element is not gone, right? We've transferred the trust to a different location. So technology is a creative process that creates new possibilities for humans. even though the Hawala Network does not use computers and it does not use machines, it is no less a technology. Technology does not mean computers or machines necessarily. It is anything that creates new possibilities for humans. I have to admit, this is not a technology. This is exactly what it looks like. This is my friend's young child, Teo. He's extremely cute, as you may have noticed. And the reason why I want to talk about Teo is because Teo is very, very good at being human, and that's what this talk is about. Teo can do something that no artificial intelligence algorithm in the world can do, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is Teo playing with a tree, and this looks trivial, looks like it's random, but what Teo is doing is, Teo's very young. He can't have interacted with many trees in his entire life. He's taking a very small amount of data, tiny, tiny amounts of data, maybe like 10 interactions with a tree, 20 interactions with a tree. Something that an artificial intelligence algorithm would need millions and millions of to do anything useful with. And he's doing 100 creative things with it. He's saying, maybe I could put this in my mouth. Maybe it's a toy. Maybe I can climb in here. He's extrapolating wildly, creating many, many creative possibilities. This is something that humans are very, very good at. And it is something that no artificial intelligence algorithm on the planet is good at. There are three major types of artificial intelligence: labeled classification, or supervised learning; unsupervised clustering. So the first one, you take millions or thousands of pieces of data, and you say, this one's red, this one's blue, this one's red, this one's blue, and then you give the computer one after thousands and thousands, and it tries to guess whether it's red or blue. And it's very good at it. It's very good at it, guessing whether it's red or blue. And then there's unsupervised clustering, taking lots and lots of data and putting it in groups that look similar without telling you anything about those groups. Then that's your job as a human to go figure that out. The last one is reinforcement learning, taking a structured environment and optimizing for a variable. So like playing a video game. The video game is always the same, and it's always trying to get more points. These all involve two things. One, massive amounts of data with a simple output. So thousands and thousands of bank transactions, and then the answer, is this fraudulent or not? Or thousands and thousands of mortgages, and should I lend to this person or not? Or a bounded problem, an environment that has closed doors and a problem that it's explicitly trying to solve. Drive this car and get the most points in this video game. Teo is doing something that none of those algorithms can do. He's taking a completely open problem. No one came to Teo and said, Teo, optimize for leaf eating. Teo, optimize for playing with this tree. No one came to Teo and said, here's 10 million examples of humans interacting with trees. Replicate this. He's able to create that on his own. He's extremely good at being human. So effective artificial intelligence uses computers or machines for things that humans are bad at doing, not for mimicking human behavior. Because we are already really good at behaving like humans. And there's so many of us. Why would we create artificial intelligence? Why would we create technologies to do what we're already so good at doing? Now, before you misunderstand me, I should emphasize that I'm not against technology. The point of this talk is not that we should only use humans to do things, that hardware is useless. Earlier, I was talking about the VR headset, right? And I was talking about why would I put this very expensive piece of metal on my face. This is a picture of my friend Magnus. He's from Norway, and Magnus is a luthier. Magnus makes violins. He builds them from wood. And with this violin, he can create very, very profound emotional experiences. So yes, this violin is a giant piece of hardware that you have to put on your face, and it is expensive because he does a lot of work with it, but it's worth it. Why is it worth it? Because it creates something in myself and in the experience of us around him that we could not do without that violin. We need the violin for that experience. So this is our challenge, is not to avoid technology or to only use hardware instead of humans, but it's to think about, what am I doing with this emerging technology that is truly new? What am I doing with this technology that I really could not do with anything else, with all of these 7 billion humans that I have on the planet already? And there are a lot of those examples. Let me give you one for virtual reality. This is an artist, Akhmarat Tuliev from Turkmenistan. And he uses different kinds of three-dimensional cameras to record musicians playing in three-dimensional animation. And then he puts them in virtual reality so that you can actually walk around and see them playing in real time. And you can see that it doesn't look exactly like a musician, right? It's ghostly, it's artistic, and that's really important, right? Because in art, the mistakes are important. The fact that when you paint something, it doesn't look exactly like a photo is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it's beautiful. And that's what he evokes here, is this ghostly beauty. And he's used it to create this very amazing experience about the experience of his father in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union, and the emotional experience that his father, who is a composer, went through during that transition. And he does it in a way that's not linear. You can walk up to the piano and look through it and see the light shining through that Akhmarat saw when he was a young boy. You can see his father standing there at the piano playing, using these ghostly figures. So he's using VR in a way that you could not use any other medium. He couldn't do this with photos. He couldn't do this with movies. It's worth putting this on my face. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. I do some much less talented VR art myself with sixervr.com. I know what you're thinking. Why am I wearing a lab coat? But this is something that me and my friends do. We take 3D scanners and we take gaming software and we create fun experiences. This is a virtual reality podcast. And the reason why I'm showing you this is to show you that you can also do this. If I can do it, you can do it, honestly. The software is free to play with. So if you have an idea for what could truly be done in VR that's new, or with gaming that's new, the software is free for you to download and try. And it's not that hard to get started. And we've been experimenting with some new kinds of narrative as well. We've been experimenting with three-dimensional narratives, three-dimensional poems, using text and VR overlaid. With blockchain, too, you remember the Hawala Network, this process of transferring money instantaneously and then recording it on a ledger. When we talk about blockchain, what we're really talking about is just that same ledger, but instead of people being in the same family, they've downloaded the same software. It's incredibly similar, except you use a software instead of the family connection. And in places like Nigeria, Bitcoin can become very useful because the Nigerian currency is very volatile, and sometimes the institutions are uncertain. So if I'm in the United States, I'm honestly not going to use Bitcoin as a currency because I can use dollars, and dollars are very useful. They're very stable in value, and most institutions will accept them. Sometimes, in certain cases with business in Nigeria, that's not true. I work a lot with hardware entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and they buy things from China. Moving money from the Nigerian currency into the Chinese currency is very difficult and very expensive. It's sometimes easier to change it into Bitcoin and then back into Chinese currency. This is like a Hawala network, but it happens over the internet and it happens instantaneously. So it is something that they could not do with humans alone. And yes, you can actually play yourself with blockchain as well. For instance, I created my own personal currency, Jeremy Coin. It's backed by me, Jeremy. I am the Federal Reserve Chairman of Jeremy Coin. I'm also the gold standard. It's backed by 12,500 Jeremy Coin for an hour of my time. With Bitcoin, you get Bitcoin by contributing computing power to the Bitcoin network, With Jeremy Coin, you get Jeremy Coin by knowing me personally. And the more that I know you and trust you, the more Jeremy Coin you get. So you now have a major incentive to come talk to me afterward. But the reason why I put this up is to show you how easy it is to start playing with this yourself. These emerging technologies are not expensive and hard to get going with. And it's really important that you do this. And the reason why it's important is because although creating a tiny economy where I'm the center of attention is very important, maybe you have something even more important that you're doing. Maybe you're an activist. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you are doing something that helps people get food when they did not have food. Maybe you're helping them organize a new social movements, and you can use a token to do it. Maybe you can use blockchain to organize. And so it's important that you start playing with it and doing projects with it so that you understand it. If you want to make your own currency, you can go on my blog, and I have step-by-step instructions. It takes no computer coding. It'll cost you about $13 and take about a half hour. So it's a lot of fun. You should try it. And there are things to do with artificial intelligence. There are things that computers are good at, very good at, that humans are not good at. For instance, here in Kazakhstan, Deep Report is using AI to predict flash floods in Central Asia more effectively. They're able to take years and years of data, massive amounts of data, and analyze them using AI and machine learning to help predict when flash floods may or may not happen. This is something that humans are very bad at. Taking thousands of data points, millions of data points, and looking at all of them and finding outliers. This is something that computers are very good at. And it's good that we have the computers do this so that we can focus more of our attention on what we're good at, which is being human. One thing I want you to remember from this talk is that scalable, global, computer-based innovation, say that again, scalable, global, computer-based innovation starts with local human behaviors. So I showed you how virtual reality ties back to an artistic, emotional experience. I showed you how blockchain ties back to a relationship of trust between humans, and how artificial intelligence ties back to the way that we ourselves as humans think. This is important, right? Because it means that unique local behaviors and customs become disruptive companies when you use mobile technology to scale them. Let me give you an example. Has anyone here heard of a company called Facebook? Right? I see some of you have heard of it. For those of you that don't know, Facebook is a social media network, and it was started in one university. It was a local niche innovation started in one university in the United States with those local behaviors, right? And for some reason, the person who started Facebook said, if it works at my university, it will definitely work in India. And you know what? He was right. And too often in places outside of the United States, when we create companies, we say that they are regional. Oh, this is a company and it uses Kazakh behaviors for Kazakh people. Oh, this is a Nigerian company and it uses Nigerian behaviors for Nigerian people. But those local behaviors, when you add mobile technology, scale into global companies. So when you hear someone say, oh, we do things differently here, listen up and think about, how could I add a small amount of technology like text messaging or a small amount of technology like cloud computing in order to scale it globally. All right, so now what we're all here for, how to be a human. How can you be a human better? You should do things that humans are uniquely good at. You should focus on these uniquely human things. You should take very small amounts of information and create tons of possibilities from it. Things that are too new to have good data behind them. When you hear someone talking about something that has only existed for a few days, something that no one has ever thought of before, an idea that you have, this is something that you as a human are very good at, and you shouldn't trust a computer with those things. Navigate unbounded problems. Problems that are difficult to describe, like philosophical problems that are hard to navigate in the world. These are things that you as a human are very good at, that machines are very bad at. So look for these problems and try to work with them, even if you can't solve them. Be inefficient in a productive way. This is something that the previous speaker was talking about, right? Making mistakes and then making something good out of them. Sometimes we call this innovation. Computers are very good at being very, very efficient. We're very good at being inefficient. So try to be very inefficient. That might be difficult to explain to your boss. I went to a talk at Go Viral, and the speaker told me I'm supposed to be more inefficient, so that's not why I'm doing my work. But you should try. And lastly, affect the emotional experience of other humans. This is where it really matters. The technology is not advanced. The technology does not matter, no matter what kind of chip you have in there, no matter what kind of screen you have in there, unless it profoundly affects the emotional experience of other humans more than a pencil. That's the low bar. And an advanced technology should help you do more of this, do it differently, or do it better. So I'll leave with you with this, that the cutting edge of technology is not the latest gadget. It is the new emotional experiences that we can create for people that were not before possible. Commentators are right that technology will continue to advance, but not at the speed of Moore's law or the speed of light. Technology will move forward at the speed of art. Thank you.